Welcome to the Fill the Funnel podcast with Jeff Swan
and Tom Slocum.
We're here to help you crush your targets
with tactical tips and insights you can act on today.
Don't have a fancy tech stack, a big budget, or even a huge team to lean on?
Well, it's time to get that solved today with FTF Fridays.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Fill the Funnel with your host Jeff Swan and Tom Slocum. Today we are joined by the amazing Taylor Jones, recently promoted a sales manager at Salesforce.com. You might have heard of them. So Taylor and I were actually on a panel with Sales Hacker Beyond Quota in January, and we found out not only do we both align around our concepts of BDR, but we are also from the same town in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Central Canada, for those who don't know. We've done our best to get rid of our accents, right?
Yeah, exactly. I work hard every day at it.
Every single day. We invited Taylor to come on the show because she has a unique experience, selling for a well-known brand, having been a BDR leader, a BDR yourself, right, Taylor? You've actually done the job, filled your funnel, and then moved up the ranks at an amazing company. So what we're going to talk about today is how, as a rep, you can use your own metrics and constantly measure your metrics and performance to level up. So with that said, I'm going to leave the floor now to Taylor. Tell us, why is this a cool topic? Why is this a good topic for our listeners?
Yeah, thanks so much. So for me as a leader, I always coach to metrics, and it's not always about the most activity or the most output. And I think that's a really large misconception is if I hit X amount of calls or X amount of emails, I'm going to hit my number. And everybody isn't always successful with that exact plan or format. And now reps have had to get a lot more strategic and a lot more kind of gritty as they outbound prospect. And so it's really about measuring what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and always being able to optimize and iterate so that you can constantly hit your targets, hit your metrics, fill your funnel each and every month or quarter, and hit your annual number.
Right on. And Tom, what do you think? Why is constantly measuring so important to leveling up?
I love this topic. I really do. And I agree with Taylor, right? It is very construed. You see it on LinkedIn all the time. You see everybody kind of go back and forth on this, on the importance of metrics. What are the ones to follow and what are the ones that are necessary? And I've always been a data guy myself. I love it. I think it's the best way to be able to figure out which levers to pull, how to evolve that BDR or that SCR. Because data can't lie, right? Your numbers are your numbers, but you have a way to control them too. So when you're able to coach to them, you're able to see things that are working and not working. But like Taylor says, right, if our call to set is 50 dials to a meeting, that might not work for Taylor and it might work for me. We're too different, but you have to align to a certain metric that kind of makes sense for everybody, right? Like you look at your whole database, you run down every meeting booked, you can see that roughly it is 50. So we're going to try to level that rep up to make sure that they're hitting that minimum to put them in a position to win. But it doesn't mean they're going to win, right? We want to look at other things. And so when you start tracking metrics, it just tells a story. And that's what I always love is like looking at the last quarter to this quarter, kind of looking at different things, and it tells a really nice story for you to be able to pull different levers with them.
Yeah, I like that you said there, Tom, is that it's kind of like you can get through aggregate data. If as a leader, you can look at your team and say, okay, on average or the median, whatever you want to use, then 50 calls a day is what a successful rep looks like, right? But then you as the rep yourself, you have to look at that benchmark and is that actually going to be indicative of my performance? Or am I going to need to double that to get the performance because maybe I'm not as good as Tom at the calls, right? Yeah. Or am I like way better and I can slam Tom in any day and I can do 25 calls and get the same results, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I've had that, right? And I assume Taylor has too, right? I've had a team of 30 and I'm telling you, every single one did something different, right? I had one rep who could do 20 dials a day and book just as much as myself who would put in 100 dials, right? I don't think that tells enough story. And I think too many people get into, well, I do 100 to get a meeting versus somebody that does 50. That doesn't mean too much, right? There's a lot of levers that can be pulled. There's different variables that play a part of that. So it's not always a guarantee, but when you're onboarding, Taylor, right? Like, how do we let that SDR know how to be successful from the gate? Well, based on our historical data, based on our ideal customer profile, it takes roughly 50 various activities to make this person convert, right? So you have that data to tell them what to, how to build up those metrics, how to build that up to those many reps, right? Mm-hmm. Sports, they know exactly how many pitches it might take for them to hit that home run, right? Yeah. So it gives motivation too, because I think too many people get stuck in every call has to be a win, every email has to be a win, where sometimes it's just a matter of putting in the numbers because it's practice. It's getting you to that next touch that can lead to that win.
Yeah, totally. Taylor, I had Tom and I actually had somebody in our, we run a community called Rev League. I think I might've told you about that before. And we had one of our members was actually asking us, so my boss told me that I have to do 1,000 emails a day. How do I do it? How would you have responded to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's funny because I do this with my new reps. So I always give them very ambitious activity targets to start, even though I am not an activities driven leader. And the reason I do that is I want them to fail fast, have as many at-bats as possible, and be able to organize themselves in a way that allows them to be successful going forward. So that would really be the advice that I would give this person, right? And is about time blocking your day, spending time to organize yourself for the next day so you're not task switching a whole lot, and figure out what works for you to get that 1,000 emails done, to make sure that you have a proper benchmark for yourself to be able to measure yourself going forward, to figure out what works for you and maybe what doesn't work.
I love that you said that there, because Tom and I have talked about this before as well, is that it truly is. Activities are good in certain ways. They can be used in certain ways to actually create better behaviors and things like that on newer reps. If you're tracking seasoned reps who know what they're doing and consistently put points on the board by their activities, then you're doing it wrong. Yeah. Let's just say that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now, just a little bit of the nuance there. Have you ever seen a rep do 1,000 emails a day?
1,000 emails? No, I've seen about 300 to 400 a day. I have seen. Okay. I've definitely seen some crazy months where I've seen like 2,000, 2,500 activities in a month. And that's with no high volume, like mass emailing. So I've seen some pretty crazy activity volumes for sure. Is somebody just like on their desk, like going like this? Just, I wish I knew. In the virtual world, I honestly don't know, but they had the best month that I've seen in that territory ever. So I'll take it. That's right. Because at Salesforce, you've been there only during the pandemic, only during the remote. Am I right? Yeah, I've never been to the Salesforce office. Wow, that's crazy. Virtual all the time. That's cool. Well, Tom, how about you? What do you think about starting those activity metrics when you're starting out? Like, what's your thoughts on that? I agree with Taylor. Right? I want to find the bench for that person, right? You can't expect in the onboarding to say that I need you to hit 100 dials or this and that, because you don't even know their capabilities. Now, in the interviewing process, you're looking for that grit, that self-awareness, that coachability, and you're trying to find those people. But in those initial first weeks, I want you working your ass off. I don't know what that means for you, right? I need to see your production levels in that first few weeks of, here's our minimums as a team, what we're trying to do. I want you to hit those, but let me know, right? Go through them, make sure that they have a process in place. It takes people to find their groove, right? Mm-hmm. You watch sports all the time. A basketball player can't just walk on the court and start dropping dimes just like it's nothing, right? Sometimes they don't get their legs until the third quarter. And you're like, dude, you got to warm up. Like, you got to get the practice in and fail hard and fast. I'm an airball guy, man. Airball, threes. Like all the time. It takes a few, right? You can't just walk up and drain a three and be like, yeah, I'm that cool. Yeah, exactly. You can't do the same thing, right? Like, you got to learn how they work. Sometimes you might find roadblocks to what they're doing. I do a lot of ride-alongs in the first, especially in a virtual world. I'm assuming Taylor might do the same, right? You can't be right in their desk, but you can jump on a Zoom and let them screen share and kind of just navigate with them for a couple hours. And you might find that they're catching themselves up on something, right? They're doing email wrong. They're taking way too long in research. So that's how you can pull those different levers and find out where those metrics are.
But again, I want you hitting as many as you possibly can in that 6 hours that you're working, given your lunch and some messing around time, right? I just want to see what you're capable of. Here's the bar that I have set, and they're going to be audacious, but let me just see what you can do. And if they're hitting plus over, well, then I got no problem, right? And now I can manage from there. But if they're not getting to those levels, then I got to look at what's going on and seeing why they're not able to put up, some of those numbers that the rest of the team are. And it's only going to help you, right? I'm not trying to punish you. I'm not trying to give you these audacious goals to make you hate your job and say that this sucks. But it is a way to at least know that you're putting in the right efforts on these accounts. You are giving it everything you have and giving the company and yourself the best chance at booking that meeting.
Right on. So we've kind of established that, tracking metrics is kind of a moving target. It's something that you, I guess you can say you can do at the beginning differently than when you're seasoned and when you've had some experience. But when you're talking about leveling up over the course of your career, so I'm a rep and I'm trying to look at what are the most important metrics that I want to look at so I can level up. Taylor.
Yeah. So I'll tell a quick story and then hopefully we'll answer the question at the end here. But I did a really interesting experiment when I started at Salesforce. I asked my team, I would like 2 months of minimum 1,200 activities from every single rep. Because when I walked in, I had reps saying, hey, we're strategic, like we hit our targets this way. I had a lot of hypothetical comments from my team on how they were going to actually hit their targets. And I'm sure Tom's laughing, like he's like, oh yeah, I heard that one before. And so I said, my ask is 60 days. All I want is 60 days, 2 back-to-back months of the minimum. So I can take your numbers, measure, and give you exact targets based on your conversions, your personal conversions. The next 2 months, I said, okay, now here's your conversions. Now I want 27 booked meetings. I don't care how you get there, but I want 27. Here's your numbers. So you figure out the math on how you think you can get there. And it was insane, the numbers we hit that month and continued to hit as we went forward. So I switched it from a quantity metric to a quality metric. And so to answer your question, for us, that was that meetings booked was the quality metric. And it wasn't about the calls or the emails, but we had to measure the calls and emails it took to get there so that reps knew what their benchmark was. And so everybody's benchmark was different, and that was okay. But everybody hit and achieved and overachieved on their numbers because they were all reaching towards the same kind of quality metric. Right. So hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely love that you literally created, you didn't set some blanket target. Hey, you have to do 100 activities a day. You identified what they could do. You checked their conversion metrics and you worked backwards and you said, okay, now you're responsible for this target. And now you know how many activities it takes to get there. You do you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Tom, what do you say?
I don't know how I don't know Taylor sooner. That's all I know. I'm right the same way, right? At my team of 30, that's what I did is I built everybody an Excel page that had all of their numbers tracked quarterly, monthly, right? And just like she said, you want to get everybody doing the minimums first. Look at the quality, the quantity first of what they're doing, and then you navigate over to that quality, right? Here's all of your numbers. Here's what we did over that 60 days. Now I don't care about a metrics goal. I care more about how are you each going to pull 27 meetings booked. Right? That's our goal now for the next 2 months. Here's everybody's numbers. You can all see them here. You can see which levers you need. We're going to work now individually over the next 2 months outside of this team goal we did. And now we're all just going to try to hit 27. And here's how you can do it. And I'm a big fan of working backwards. I don't know why people don't do it enough, right? You go way too blind. I tell every new SDR, as soon as you get into a company, get with the veterans, get with whatever data you can and find out what works and then work backwards from there. But I like how she approaches it, right? 27 meetings. Let's get there. Here's numbers on how to do that. And then also, Taylor, you can agree after that 2 months, if they don't hit those numbers, your one-on-ones are so much more effective because now you know exactly where to pinpoint why they didn't hit the 27, right? If 80% of the team did and 2 outliers didn't, you know exactly going into their data and pulling everything, being like, well, this is why. See, your numbers were this and you weren't even close. You did a quarter of that or didn't hit near. Now we can see why you're not hitting that 27. So it's a really good training tool as well once you get some of that data coming in.
For sure. And it really removes the question marks, right? So like there is nobody saying hypothetical statements anymore. It's really about, here is what I've done in the past to get there, and here's what I need to repeat doing. And hopefully they're only leveling themselves up to be more efficient, but not hitting their numbers and kind of saying, oh, so I don't know what happened. You kind of have the data to support it.
Well, and what's cool is after a few months, you see their numbers go down. My favorite is where they had a 40% show rate, and then 2 months later, they're pushing an 80%, right? Because most managers tell you, you're not hitting your number, make more dials. Okay. Yep. That's the commonality, right? Go make more. Yeah. But guess what Taylor and I can do? Hey, don't make more dials. Let's focus on the quality of that handoff to your AE on your show rate, because you're booking enough. You're just not getting enough to show, right? So let's play with that lever. And I'm going to give you a framework and an agenda for when you're sending your invites. Let's make sure we're sending a reminder 10 minutes before, right? And we can pull those levers where it's not us coming from manager level saying, go make more dials. It's like, no, we can work on things. And so their call to set might be 120 in the beginning, but 3 months later, it's 40.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is amazing. And you can just pull different levers. The answer isn't always more activity. Yep. You're able to remove those question marks, those hypotheticals, and find that, it's the show rate, it's the call to set, it's the amount of touches per account you're not doing, all these different things that we can work on first before just saying, hey, go do more.
Awesome. Both of you, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, Taylor, I'd love to get your one thing to tell BDRs out there, one thing that they need to know when it comes to leveling up that you can advise.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tom kind of said it. It's measure, like have an Excel spreadsheet and put your numbers in. Every number you have, call, email, call to meeting, email to meeting, figure out where you're most efficient, figure out how to measure yourself in the best way possible so you're constantly leveling yourself up. Because when you get to that, I'll call it account executive level, your prospecting needs to be so tight and so efficient that you're in now your SDR or BDR role to be able to practice, fail a lot, learn what works for you so you can leverage that as you get into your next role. So measure yourself as much as you can and keep a record for yourself.
Measure yourself and keep a record. Awesome. Thank you. So just to wrap up really quickly, there's three primary things that we talked about today. Is when it comes to leveling up through metrics, is start by setting benchmarks relevant to you and your team. So set personal benchmarks based on your business's objectives and what's expected of you as a rep. You want to start with quality. So build muscle by doing high activities, doing as much as you can. So I call it build muscle, sorry. But do as much as humanly possible so that you really go through the every scenario that's possible out there so you really understand what's going on. And then remove the guesswork. So find your individual conversion metrics and what it takes for you individually to hit that number. And then just keep hitting that number. Okay. It's simple as that. Thank you so much, Taylor. Thank you, Tom. Excellent discussion. For everybody listening at home, take this, use it today. And happy hunting. Bye. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fill the Funnel podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite platform, give us reviews, and tell all your friends about us. Till next time, happy hunting.